What's up guys, it's William Bolton, Everyday Chefs. Welcome to my kitchen in West Hollywood. Today I cooked enchiladas, which I learned from my mom. She cooks phenomenal meals like steak bruschetta, Argentina burgers, and she taught me enchiladas and I was like, okay, this is perfect. All right, you guys ready? It's a beautiful day, as you can see. Today we're making enchiladas, which is gonna be kind of heavy because it's a heat wave right now, but you know, we're gonna do what we gotta do. So we're gonna be cooking some ground beef, some beans, the sauce, and then also a side of homemade Spanish rice. So the Spanish rice, I think you guys are gonna get a kick out of this one. It's a secret recipe. But yeah, we'll get started here. What we're gonna wanna do with the meat, I like to put just a little bit of onion in there. So kinda get some oil going, just a little bit. That might be too much. I'm not a chef, guys. Let's see if my stove will start for us. Yeah, 2 tablespoons of onions is probably enough. So the Spanish rice, usually you'd think you might just get it in a packet or a box. We're not doing that today. We're gonna do Willie B's homemade style. So we're gonna put some oil in there as well. Just see how these guys are cooking up. We're gonna do the same thing in the other pan. So get that started. Ooh, these guys are sizzling. Let's say 3 tablespoons of onions for the rice. I actually like ground beef that has a little more fat in it. I just think it tends to have a little bit more flavor. I know some people don't like the fat, but all right, so we got a pound. I got a couple friends coming over for lunch. Let's just plop that in there. Okay, this is the first actual apartment that I've had in Los Angeles. I actually was going from Airbnb to Airbnb for the first 2 years that I lived in LA. And I lucked out that this spot had a nice kitchen. So we want to chop that meat up. Maybe I'll need half a pound. We'll see. Some questions are coming in. Let's see what we got. Man, I think my taste in music comes from being from Detroit, Michigan. The Motown heritage there is so strong, and it's in movies and stuff, but even being in Detroit, every restaurant, every grocery store, in the car, like it's just that Motown soul music is everywhere. So I think that's what influenced me growing up. If you guys don't know what enchiladas are, basically what we're gonna do is just fill up a tortilla with meat, cheese, and beans and kind of smush it together and then bake it in the oven. So the beans actually really help kind of hold it together in a way. Enchiladas is almost like a bunch of little burritos inside of a dish like this with a little bit more flavor because you got that sauce on top. Like I said, I'm not really a chef. I've been learning a lot more recipes this summer. Actually, when I was home in Michigan, hanging out with my mom a bunch. Over the years, I've lived in Boston, I've lived in New York, and now LA. Boston had the North End, which had amazing Italian food. New York, I just liked how they have everything. I have this spot, Mamoon's Falafel, I'll go to. Like literally the street food is just like the halal chicken and rice is really good. Now being in LA, everything really here is really fresh. I think a lot of the food that we eat comes from here and it's farmed here. That's the thing I noticed about California food is it just feels fresher. You got the beans in the pot. So now that this meat is going, I like to actually start seasoning it before it's fully cooked because I think it kind of locks in the flavor a little more. So it's got the onions in there. It's like about halfway cooked right now. And so I'm gonna start putting some of the seasoning on. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just use some pink Himalayan sea salt. The second thing I'm gonna add, and I don't really measure it out, you know, my mom taught me this recipe, but she kind of does it by looking at it and by kind of taste testing it as we go. You know, we're not gonna use like a taco mix, which you could, but I'm gonna just do something a little more original here. We're gonna do a little bit of chili powder and a little bit of cumin. Like I said, it's really important to do this before it's fully cooked because it'll lock in the flavor a little more. Okay, a little bit of cumin, and we'll season it once or twice, you know, once we kind of taste test it. Let's kind of mix that all in. You see, our onions are doing pretty good for the rice. You guys are probably wondering, why is he cooking onions for rice? Well, I'm about to blow your mind even more. We're gonna put the rice in with the onions without water. So you're wondering how you're gonna cook rice without water. Well, I'll explain that later. But for now, let's get that rice in there. Do we want a full cup? Why not? All right, so there's our rice. Maybe I didn't need a full cup. Let's get a little stirring spoon for that. As you can see, I'm not a full chef, just whatever I got, I'll use. All right, so now we're gonna kind of mix up those onions with the rice. What that's gonna do is just kind of seal some of that oil and flavor in there early. And it's gonna give us a nice, flavorful rice when it's done. I actually want my rice to brown before we add any liquid. Oh, another question's coming in. I'd say that my fashion style is a little bit more out there than my food palette. In LA, I've definitely tried sushi, which I've never really had before, and my new favorite thing in LA is Korean barbecue, so I'm expanding. Okay, these beans need to get started. Heat these up. So I have a secret for my beans. You know, obviously it's just a can of refried beans from the store, but there's a couple things you can add to it to make it a little bit more interesting. The first thing I'm gonna add is some cumin, just like I did for the meat. Not too much because it's a pretty strong seasoning. And the second thing, I think my mom taught me this, but I'll actually take a little bit of sour cream, just like, you know, 1 heaping teaspoon kinda, and just dump that right in the mix. If the beans are too thick, it's gonna be, when we're actually making the enchiladas, it's gonna be a little tougher, but I find that sour cream makes it a little bit more pliable, and it just makes it a little tastier. You know, I'm gonna add just a little bit more oil into the rice, just to kind of seal in that flavor and speed up that cooking process. So the other part about enchiladas that we can't forget is the sauce, which I'm not making homemade. I don't have that skill set yet. You're probably wondering what that sauce was for too. And with your chicken broth, stay tuned. Dude, this thing is falling apart. I need to just get the sauce out and it's just busting my balls. It's not going well, guys. Maybe I can just sneak it out of here. Oh, those beans are boiling. Oh, snap. Gotta be careful. Let's see if we can pour the sauce out into here. Oh, there it goes. We've got our enchilada sauce. So we're gonna heat this up a little bit. A little bit more chili powder. Yep, just enough. You know, just kind of cover it, but don't overdo it. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more cumin, and then we're gonna give it a little test. It's looking pretty good. It smells really good. You guys can't smell how good it is. All right, let's see. Oh yeah. I've been very blessed with music to be able to travel a bit. I went over to Europe a few years back and did 15 shows over there in 15 cities. We got another question. Traveling through Europe, one of the foods that really stuck out to me that I really enjoyed was stroopwafel, which I discovered in Belgium. It's kind of like a waffle cone with like caramel inside, and I just absolutely loved it there, and whenever I can find it in the US, I get it here as well. The next step with the rice is kind of the fun one. And we're actually gonna, instead of using water to cook it, we're gonna use chicken broth. If you're vegan, this probably won't work. This whole dish might not work if you're vegan. So we're gonna put a cup of chicken broth. Like I said, we put a cup of rice, and you know what, maybe I messed this up, but we're gonna play it by ear. Ooh, there we go. Now, here's the real key. Like I said, instead of water, it's chicken broth, and then you're gonna add 2/3 cup of your favorite chunky salsa. I actually couldn't find my favorite chunky salsa at Ralph's in Hollywood, Rock and Roll Ralph's. That's where I usually shop. It's interesting because, you know, you get Spanish rice at a restaurant or out of a bag, and this is kind of similar to the seasoning that they're actually adding in there. Okay, so we get 1/3 cup. And in enchiladas is really not a super difficult meal. Like, it can really be done in about, you know, 40 minutes. About 20 minutes here, and then it's gonna go in the oven. Well, I'm not gonna call it gourmet, but for me, you know, a single bachelor in West Hollywood, I mean, it's like a nice meal. You know, I could have a friend over, I could have a date over, and I think they would really appreciate it. And so now we're gonna bring it to a boil. We're gonna switch this out, because that's a little bit more heat. Sauce goes over here, because it's a smaller burner, we don't need as much heat. And we're gonna really kind of crank this rice to get it boiling. This, and this are gonna go into the enchiladas. So we're gonna get a plate. If you've got a significant other or a homie that wants to help out, this is a good time to bring them in. It's just gonna be me today. So we got these tortillas going, and let's see, I'll wait for that rice to boil. And I grew up kind of having family dinners, and my mom always cooking, like, kind of had to be at the table at 6 o'clock. And the funny thing was that we almost never went to restaurants. I kind of craved going out so much. And I think even as I got to college and out here in LA, I've definitely enjoyed just kind of being able to not cook for myself and eat out a lot. Kind of going home this summer made me reappreciate the value of home cooking. It can be cheaper, and it's just, when you cook something with love, it's rewarding. I mean, in LA, there's such good food. Some of my favorites here are Jones on 3rd, which is a great deli. For Italian, I go to Jones Hollywood. Tacos, there's actually this place in Glendale, Tacos Aztec. I'm kind of a messy cook, guys, sorry. Here's our station. What we're gonna wanna do with this pan, I've got the oven set to 350. I forgot to tell you guys, you're gonna wanna preheat that oven to 350 before you get started so it's ready to go. Pour a little bit of olive oil into this pan, just a little bit like that. And then you can kind of use a paper towel to like kind of move it around, and you kind of want this this whole pan to be really slick. By the way, LA has amazing Mexican food. That's one of the things I love here. Just you can just stop at a taco truck and you're always gonna get pretty authentic Mexican food, I'd say, from my experience. Here's how you make the enchilada. All right guys, it's been in the oven for about a little bit over 15 minutes. And so we're gonna basically take it out now so that we can do one final like layer of cheese on the top. Hopefully those tortillas didn't mess us up too bad. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. We're looking pretty good. Now we're gonna put it back in there for probably another 5 minutes or so, just so that cheese can melt. All right guys, this is the moment of truth. Let's see how that cheese looks on there. Wow, there you have it folks. Willie B's special enchiladas. Oh yeah, gotta love it. There we go. Oh, look at that cheesy goodness. This is gonna be phenomenal. Here's an enchilada, guys. Love to see it. Just give ourselves a nice, just good scoop. And there you have it, guys. This is Willie B's enchiladas. Let's go, my roommate approves. First bite, we'll see how it goes. Yeah, that's working. That's hitting. Okay, a little more sauce on this one. That's phenomenal. Let's try our rice out. See how we did. It's got a nice kind of, this, not too spicy, but not mild either. You can definitely tell that the salsa that you use really affects it. I would definitely call this a success. I've done it better before, but we'll see what everyone else thinks. I really like it. William Bolton, your everyday chef, signing off.